Good morning, my magnificent ones. Sue Paulson here, your magnificence mentor. Welcome to Tea with Sue. You know that old saying, be careful what you wish for, because you surely might get it. Well, I've experienced that. You probably have too. So sometime in 2006, 2007, I had this desire burbling up in me. And I made the statement because of that out loud. I want to experience full-blown ecstasy before I die. Now, the context at the time was not what ultimately ended up happening, but I made this statement and somehow it triggered a series of events from the universe down into my life that put me on the brink of death and sent me into the afterlife for some period of time. Oh, well, I wanted to experience full-blown ecstasy. There it was in all its glory. It's almost indescribable being on the other side, whether you want to call it heaven, the afterlife, the great beyond, all that is, source, I don't know. There I was. Everything that I had ever believed about life got shattered. My beliefs were shattered. All the programming that I'd had about who I was as a person and the experiences that I felt were there for me to help me grow, everything just exploded. I'm going, what? Well, of course, the sweet side of that was that I was bathed in this sea of unconditional love. There was a peace there that I had never experienced before. And all of this love was just seeping into every pore. It was just beyond wonderful. So full-blown ecstasy it was, for sure. Well, of course, not my time to be there. I wanted to stay. I thought, oh, this is what I'm talking about. Let me stay. I'm here now. This is good. Don't take this key to the kingdom away. No. And then I found myself back on planet Earth without feeling as if I'd had a choice in the matter, without feeling like it was a judgment that well, they sent me back. I must have done something wrong. And for a while, a few years, in fact, I was lost because when you experience something that profound, or at least for me experiencing something that profound, and all of the old notions that I'd grown up with having evaporated, I'm going, well, now what? What do I do with this? Where do I go with this? There were really very few people to talk to, and it was hard. And then, of course, 4 years later, life got even harder with a cancer diagnosis. Now, that was hell on earth. I'm telling you, it was no kinds of fun in any way, shape, or form. So I have this contrast, right? I have this, what do I do with this? There's this unimaginable beauty over here, and this eternal sense of well-being, and over here, life sucks. And I thought there's got to be a way. These are linked somehow, but I didn't have a clue how they were. However, I did take a considerable amount of time as I was healing from cancer to begin to piece whatever had been going on in those 5-6 years, to sort it out, to say, well, there's got to be some sense in this. This needs to put together in a fashion that I can relate to. There needs to be a good reason for this. There has to be a good reason for this. There was a part of me that wasn't sure, but I'm the eternal optimist, and I was convinced that nothing happens for no reason. And so I kept searching, and I read, and I reflected, and I journaled, and all of that to put the pieces together, to say, well, how does this piece fit with this? And what about that over there? And how about this over there? So as I'm doing this, there's a message that starts to seep into me. And it was a quiet message at first, but it resonated. And it was, well, Sue, you've experienced heaven, as I would like to term it. Just go create it right on earth. And I'm going, what? Heaven on earth? Really? Oh, interesting concept. Well, the blueprint's there. I see the model. And wow, wouldn't that be glorious if we could all experience that? Wow, that's pretty amazing. So that was one big piece of one big missing piece, I guess. And the other missing piece came in the words, you are magnificent. And I'm going, really? Well, I'm not sure about that. Mountains are magnificent. Lakes and oceans are magnificent. Nature, to me, there's lots of magnificence about nature. But I never applied it to me as a human being. There are people that I mean, my core belief about people is that everyone is magnificent. But honestly, I hadn't really claimed that for myself. I hadn't grabbed that. I hadn't said, well, that includes you, Sue. So this was a concept that I struggled with. I tried it on in a variety of ways. I wasn't too sure how to pull that into my being. Now, maybe you, like me, started out feeling less than, feeling as if, well, I don't quite measure up. Maybe you were taught that, maybe you were told that, maybe some of the experiences you had in early life and beyond that said, well, actually, you don't measure up, you're not enough. You have to work hard to deserve, because you're here and you're supposed to be here. And I worked with that for years. I was a self-improvement project from early teens right through, where I thought, well, if I can just get this done, or if I can just achieve that, or if I can just accomplish that, or rise to this, or be that, then I'll measure up. And someone, and I guess at the time, I thought that my higher power, God, or whatever we want to call it, he, she, him, whatever, would notice me then. Oh, I'll get the attention. I'll be able to I'll deserve to kiss the hem of that honorable robe. And and I didn't feel as if I was that worthy. Lots of years. Then when I had the near-death experience, part of the new understanding was, just because I exist, I'm worthy. As we all are, because we exist. We're part of that spiritual beingness. One book that I read termed it, we're each an individual sunbeam from the sun. Well, it's the source. It's not going anywhere, and we're it too. We're an individual slice of that magnificent pie in the sky that is integral to the well-being of everything. So are we magnificent? Of course we are. It was just hard for me to fathom. It was hard to bring that on. It was like somebody giving me this magnificent power suit and said, Sue, this belongs to you. And I'm going, yeah, I don't know if that's going to fit. I don't think I'm going to fill that out, because there's parts of me that aren't there yet. So I didn't even want to try it on. I tucked it in the back of the closet. No, not right now. Over the years, I take that power suit out and I put it on and say, that doesn't fit so bad now. And maybe I've grown into it. Maybe my awareness has expanded. Maybe my desire to claim this has grown to the point where not a bad fit, that could be just what I've been looking for. So it's a progression, right? So to go from feeling lower than a snake's belly on the scale of life to saying, oh, I'm magnificent, is a big stretch. It's a big leap. So and lots of us won't go there. There's lots of people out there say, no, I'm just happy with the crumbs under the table, and I don't like it. In fact, I kind of resent it, but it's too scary to go more than that. Well, there's really nothing to fear. I mean, our fears are those the mountains we build out of little tiny molehills. They are, because of our attitude or our perspective or whatever. So something needs to shift. Something needs to move in order, because some of those obstacles to our magnificence feel like mountains, never mind big boulders in our path. And moving them seems insurmountable. It seems impossible. Well, I don't have the kind of equipment that I need to move that. Yes, you do. Actually, you do. And it's right here, between our ears, this brain that we have to think, this mind that is connected to source. We can change that. We can change not only our attitude. You've heard all of the sayings, your altitude is determined by your attitude. Think and Grow Rich talked about, what you think about comes about. All of these sayings that we hear in so many different from so many different sources. Well, why are there so many of them? Because they're all a piece of what is true. It's just that they come from so many different ways, because everybody needs to hear it differently or at different times or whatever, until we say, well, there's enough evidence out there. Everybody's saying this, and so maybe it's true. Maybe if I make the shift, then that will start making a difference. I know it did for me. I know when I started working on my own sense of self, my own, well, who am I anyway? Who is Sue? And do you like her? I didn't even know if I liked her, never mind loved her. Well, when I embarked on that little project, I saw the glistening, gleaming, loving, wonderful parts of me that stood out. Wow, look at that. And I'd shine them up and they'd get brighter. Well, then the things that I wasn't that happy about didn't seem so significant. What I realized, that as I kept concentrating on the shiny parts of me, the good parts of me, a lot of what I didn't like fell away, or I realized that I hadn't understood it at all. And so I was able to move forward. So I was able to move to a new place where I thought, wow, I like me. I like who I am. I like who I'm becoming. I really enjoy where I'm at. There was a peace that came from that, a sense of satisfaction, at least temporary satisfaction. But of course, I'm I'm a growth person. I want to know what else is out there. Well, if I got this far, now where can I go from here? So I keep aspiring to higher and higher levels. Well, on the scale of way not enough to magnificent, I still had a ways to go. I had got to the point where I thought, you know what, I'm enough. We had this conversation in our Groundswell University this week about enough. And was it enough to say that we're enough? Well, when you're ready to say that, it is enough to say you're enough. And there's more. So then how do I get from I'm enough, then maybe the next step, yeah, I'm more than enough. I'm more than capable. I'm more than whatever the baseline is. I'm beyond that. I've moved beyond that. Now, let me just stop for a minute and interject that I'm not talking about the egoic stuff that rattles around in our brain that says, oh, Sue, you think you're more than. It doesn't mean that I think I'm more than anybody else. I think I'm more than I thought I was before. So for me, that's something to celebrate. That's a progression. It's not about anybody else. I can only deal with me. I can only work with what I have to work with, and everybody else gets to do the same if they choose. So it isn't about anybody else. What's fascinating to me is that the more I work on me, the more I seem to attract into my life other people who are dedicated to working on themselves. Well, we share our little triumphs and tragedies when we chat. We talk about our frustrations and what hasn't been working. But because we share a common bond of, well, we're all working on ourselves. We're all striving to get to that taste of magnificence that we were born with. All right, we came to planet Earth with that magnificence in full shining glory, choosing to be here on planet Earth to experience the restriction of what it's like to be bound by gravity, to be bound by time, when before we were limitless, but we couldn't experience what we can experience here on Earth. So it's all about experience. Well, now we're moving into a time where there's the realization by one here, one there, 10 over here, 20 over there, that there's way more, that to move back to the essence, to remember, meaning become a member of that community of magnificent beings who came here to experience what we came here to experience on planet Earth. To remember how glorious, how powerful, how strong that we are inherently. It's built into us. It's wired into our DNA. We just forgot. So does it take a little work to find that magnificence? Well, I'm finding that it does. I'm finding that it's a progressive thing, that when I continue to focus on it, it does start to reveal itself. It's very much like the sculptor who takes a big block of stone and knows that there's a powerful creation in there, whether it's an elephant, a butterfly, a lion, a person, doesn't really matter. It's to chip away all the stuff that doesn't belong to that creation. Well, we're kind of like that, I think. I've been chipping away at a lot of the resentments that I've gathered over the years. No, that doesn't belong. Chip, 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 let it fall to the floor, clean it up, throw it out. chipping away at bitterness, at sadness, at loneliness, at all of chipping away at the notion of all my failures. And I've had quite a few of those, and saying, well, that isn't me. That's an experience that I had. I got to choose again from that experience, but it's not me. It's not the essence of me. So in searching for the magnificence and wanting to have it be an integral part of me, where it's not just a belief, it's a knowing. It's just I feel it in every core, every fiber of my being. Well, it's to get rid of anything that doesn't serve me. So my negative attitude along the way had not served me. So I worked on flipping the switch and saying, no, not my pity parties didn't serve me. Oh, maybe for 10 minutes or something, but they didn't serve me. So all of my anger, there were times when it served me, but not for very long. And if I hung out in it, I didn't feel good. So, I mean, our body is this amazing communication device that tells us where we're at, tells us exactly what's going on by how it feels. So if I have an uneasiness in my gut, I get to examine that and say, what is that? Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Am I sad, mad, upset? What's going on? And as I do the little sleuth thing that helps me track that down, then I have an opportunity to rectify whatever that is. But if I don't examine it, well, it just stays there, and then, oh, well, yeah, I've had that feeling before, I'll just get used to it. Well, it doesn't really serve us, but we do that, right? And heavens, I've done that lots. So, but now I want to be more aware. I want to be more mindful of what my body's telling me, what it's communicating to me, because chances are pretty good, if it's a not so good feeling, then there's something for me to explore. Maybe there's a little jagged edge that needs smoothing down, just like, when you've got a hangnail on your finger, and immediately I go to chew it off because, oh, that's bugging me. Well, our bodies are that sensitive. Just little tiny, a fly lands on the hairs on your arm, there's a bug on there because you can feel it. So that's how finely tuned our bodies are. Well, the same thing with our inner senses. It's just that we haven't paid as much attention to our inner senses as we have to our outer. So to be able to know that there's a jagged edge somewhere that needs either chipping off or smoothing off or something, to move beyond that, move beyond that, move beyond that. It's the coolest journey ever, I promise you. There are days when I wish I wasn't so self-aware, because that old, oh, well, ignorance is bliss. If I don't know, then I don't have to do anything about it. Well, that can be a perilous place to hang out, I've discovered. And so I'll take the price of growth over that, because I've learned that the payoff is far bigger. The payoff is far richer. I've had people say, well, Sue, what would the world be like if everybody was joyful and happy and peaceful and nobody's fighting, everybody's learned to get along? I don't think our world would exist if that was going on. Well, maybe the world we know it wouldn't exist, but maybe it would be a different world. It would be a better world. It would be heaven on earth. Whoa, what a concept. If you weren't battling all the things that you battle on a day-to-day basis, would you have time to be more creative, more loving, more giving, more whatever? So that's the road I'm going. So if you want to come, I know you're magnificent enough to do this. I suspect deep down you do too. So join me. Think about your magnificence this week. And if you don't feel quite ready to say, yep, that's me, I love it, and that's you, and that's you, and that's you, you're not quite ready to claim that. Well, where are you on the scale? What can you claim and embrace? And then say, what's beyond that? And what's beyond that? And what's beyond that? Think about that this week, my magnificent ones. I look forward to you joining me next week on Tea with Sue. In the meantime, if you're hungry for more, you can access the Tea with Sue channel on YouTube. There's lots of videos on there. This is episode number 98. You can also access through my app, The Magnificence Mentor, a lot of the articles that I've written and more videos as well. Have a glorious week. Take good care.